A very good evening, everyone. Welcome to Telling Tales. I am Matt, the Game Master for the evening, and we make atmospheric role-playing stuff and put it here on Twitch or on YouTube, whichever you're watching it on. How very exciting. We're here to play Blades in the Dark tonight. It's the third episode, and so far, it's been going pretty well, No one's died, just nearly, but not quite. So it's all good. Before we go any further, as per usual, I'd like to introduce our stream manager, Steve, who will be tinkering away behind the scenes, doing all kinds of fun admin. Yeah, pictures,
Always
cams, all that stuff. He loves it. He loves it. Look at him. Look at his little face. How you doing tonight, Steve?
Oh, very well, thanks. Yeah, yourself?
Good. Yep, great. Warm.
Yeah.
Very warm. Yeah, so if you don't be alarmed if Steve pops up, it just means that something's gone horribly wrong. But we'll wave goodbye to him until something goes horribly wrong, right? Let's get on with the promo stuff. If you look down below, you'll see a bunch of links. There's links to Twitch and to YouTube. You're watching on one. Why not check out the other? Particularly if you are watching on Twitch. Hey, our YouTube has just thousands and thousands, asterisk. It's got a lot of VODs of all our series are all up there. There's a bunch of social media links. There's links to our Discord if you want to join that and come chat with us about things role-playing-y. We've got a link to our Patreon if you want some special treats. Then sponsor us over on there. And we run 3 weekly games at the moment, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, all at 8 o'clock BST. Call of Cthulhu is on Monday. Blades in the Dark, is on Tuesday. And currently we're running Coriolis, which is a sci-fi RPG from Free League, on Wednesdays. That's tomorrow. We also have monthly one-shots on the first Saturday of every month, like a single installment, single session game, a story all told in one stream. There's a bunch of those in VOD form over on our YouTube. We've got The Expanse, we've got Morkborg, we've got Troika and Alien and Fiasco. And in fact, I'm going to announce the very next one we're going to do, and it's very similar in theme and feel to something like Blades in the Dark. On I think it's the 3rd, the 3rd of July, Saturday the 3rd in July. Johnny, our Call of Cthulhu keeper, is going to be running a game of Honey Heist. That is a one-page RPG where you play bears. Quite a lot of the bears have hats as well, I've been told. So yeah, that's good stuff. So without any further ado, let's bring on the players and start getting into what happened last time on Blades in the Dark. We wrapped up a score last time, and now we're heading into downtime at the beginning of this session. But let's bring on Justin first. Justin plays 3 sheets, our resident hunter, and hound, and all that good stuff from the keepers. Justin, last time you were engaged on a score where you were transporting a kind of slightly mysterious, berobed anarchist and maybe doctor to a location in the docks while there was a bit of a riot going on. And I believe we picked up with you on your own on a rooftop as Echo had just dived into the canal. So
Yeah.
What happened next?
Then, three sheets, acted as any good criminal gang member would do, and abandoned their friends for the good of the mission. Just left him dying in the water. Just left her dying in the water. Just for fun. That was great. That was the plan. So, and then continued along the rooftop and got down into the streets, where Three Sheets proceeded to miss the boat to join up with the crew, and so decided to brawl their way through the riot such that they could rejoin everyone on Salford Street. So yeah, met them at the boat and hid the boat, and got onto the street.
Yeah, made your way into Salford Street, which was on a kind of what you call it, a bridge, or just a raised? It's like a raised street. Over the rest of the docks. And a couple of things, won't you know it, happened on that street. Let's bring on John, who plays Bricks. So yeah, you arrived on the street, and I guess you had to find this house that you had to leave this anarchist type at. But there was more to the street, perhaps, than meets the eye, John, wasn't there?
There was a strange searching light emitting from one of the houses down the street, which, as players, we might think, that's a bit odd. But as characters, I think we ranged from let's act casual in case it's the neighborhood watch, right through to walk right through it. So that was fun. Possibly related later, as we were searching down the street for the specific house we were after, Bricks had a run-in with someone who called himself a part of the Wraiths, who it's another crew, and we politely came to an accord to not interfere with each other's business.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And it was also someone I had fun playing because they kept calling you old sport, and that's great. So let's bring on our third player, Pierre. Pierre plays Echo. It just occurred to me, John, I didn't say who you play. You play Bricks.
I play Bricks.
But, Pierre plays Echo, on the other hand. The crew's Lurk, and someone with definitely nothing horrible lurking under their scarf. Pierre, how did the search for the house go?
So initially we were sort of struggling a little bit. Having pulled myself out of the freezing cold waters and meeting up with the crew, was not feeling so great. I tried to use my night vision goggles equivalent, and that didn't feel good at all. I think I saw various apparitions repeating. Eventually we figured out that maybe we could get a better vantage from the roofs. So I helped the others climb up, and we did actually spot something. We spotted a weird sigil that I believe Silver had recognized from drinking with the anarchists.
Yeah, it was
previously.
like a little carving on top of a shrine on a rooftop.
Yeah, it was really quite distinctive, actually. And given that we were moving an anarchist doctor to their rightful place, as we had later established, we followed that and we let them in. I don't know if I would want to be treated in this particular surgery that they had set up, but they seemed content and swiftly locked us out, which I think is sensible given how we look.
Yeah, absolutely. Just hustled you out of the place with, not really a thanks. So not only did Silver kind of pull the fat out of the fire a little bit by identifying that kind of Severosi, maybe a god or a deity of some kind, but then also Silver, played by Sam, had a part to play, no matter how brief, in getting you the hell out of these riot-ridden docks.
Yeah, it was quite smooth sailing getting out compared to getting in. We kind of went back to the boat and just sailed back down the canal. I think we briefly encountered one of the blue coats who had been kind of checking nothing breaks the quarantine, but by just kind of flashing our papers, he was a bit preoccupied with all the rioting going on, luckily for us, and let us out quite easily.
Priorities. So yeah, absolutely. And we got out, and I think we wrapped up a couple of little bits and pieces of our downtime phase last time, but nothing with any real meat to it. We essentially just calculated your your heat and the payoff for it and stuff like that, right? I think I'm right in saying that we did that stuff. Yay?
Yeah.
Nay? I think we did. Like your
payoff
rep
and personal experience, I think.
Yes, I think those are the things we did. One thing we forgot to do was crew experience, and we'll just head straight into that, in fact. So it works in a very similar way to individual experience, where basically you've got a kind of list of things that it wants to know if you accomplished, and you get 1 if you did it, and 2 if you did it loads or in a massively impactful way. So, John, what we'll do in this, because unlike the player XP, where it makes it very clear that the player decides how much XP they get, this does not. So, what I will do, I've had a look at it, and I know what I think, and I'll say that, and then you guys argue me, like you say what you think, right? So, John, do you want to give us the first XP trigger for crew?
So the first one is execute a successful smuggling or acquire new clients or contraband sources.
Clearly, you executed a successful smuggling mission. I wouldn't say that you did it in an impactful or huge way enough to earn 2, because you got one person to a place. Essentially, an extremely expensive taxi service.
Hey. It was going to be impactful for all those people that doctor saves.
If they save
them,
they might be shit.
Yeah, he might just completely disfigure them.
Still an impact.
Yeah.
That's true.
So,
that's why I play games with you, Sam. You always look on the bright side.
Do we generally agree with the one there?
Yeah.
What's the next one, John?
Next one is contend with challenges above your current station.
Yeah.
It depends what you mean by contend. I don't think at any point you directly contended with anything above your like tier or rep. Like,
I don't know.
We're not
Blue
paid
coat
to,
shot at us.
We're not paid to take on ghosts. I almost said
Blue
goats
Coats
there.
didn't shoot at you.
Yeah.
Well, they chased us off the roofs with guns.
Yeah, but does that mean, like, should you get an XP for running away?
Evading.
Like, I don't know. I don't.
It's up to you. But like Silver also,
maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
Silver also had the verbal conflict with the guard. You know, like,
but like, is that contending to just say like, here's our papers, okay, bye? Like, I feel like it needs to be more.
The blue coats.
The blue coats,
everyone's above our level right now, Bricks.
Yeah, but that guy was just a lackey. Like, it's not like we were arguing with the commissioner.
That's kind of what I feel, but you
disgusting.
know, it depends what you guys. You know, let's do this democratically, right? Democracy doesn't happen in Duskfall, but
put it to the Twitch stream.
Yeah, emojis and Twitch. So, I mean, what do people think? Pierre, Sam, what do you think?
I think the only argument we might have for it is the ghost.
Look, I don't know who this Drinker Moth is on the chat, but he seems to think that 2 XP is really relevant.
Unfortunately for you, Justin, we know who Drinker Moth is on the chat. I'm not hearing a terrible outcry against me.
Yeah, no, I agree that it's...
You're just ignoring me, then, I guess.
We
more than from one person.
We duped Talaki, we ran away from a ghost, partly successfully, one of us ending up in the canal, and then we wandered around the street looking like idiots for a bit.
It doesn't say that we have to have won the contest. So,
I agree that. I don't think you have to have won, but like, yeah.
So
I'm happy with no XP.
What about when we bluffed the woman away from the bill put the hook?
I don't think you bluffed it. She just jumped and then asked if she could crawl under a net. Like, I don't know. I don't think you did anything actively
of what
with that circumstance. But
as an example of what I would consider doing this, I think that if, for example, we had gone when the wraiths questioned us, if we had gone, oh, they're probably onto something, let's take what is theirs. I think that would count in this way. Yeah,
or if the blue coat thing had ended up with you wrestling with that blue coat and on the rooftop or something. Yeah, something more directly contentious.
But I'll make sure to do more contentious things that get us into trouble next time.
So what's the next one, John?
Next one is bolster your crew's reputation or develop a new one.
I mean, you did. You raised your rep, so yeah,
fair enough.
I'd say that's a point.
Cool.
We doubled our rep.
Yeah, from
that's major.
1 to 2. Yeah.
And express the goals, drives, inner conflict, or essential nature of the crew.
I think this is a difficult one to do early on because you don't really know what those are yet. You don't really have goals, so I wouldn't say that's been done. Essential inner nature.
Unreliable and wild.
That's our cohort, not us.
I'd say he's the only thing you got at the moment regarding this, daring. Which is the reputation one.
I don't think you were daring.
Do you feel you were daring?
I feel like we ran across the roofs again around bluecoats.
Is
I
that
don't know.
daring though, or standard for criminals? I don't know.
Echo feels like we could definitely have gone bigger.
But also we could have gone less daring. We could have played it much more safe. Like we could have all been in the boats.
I'm sorry, our baseline is like daring. We need to be like pissing off the most powerful person in the city.
Well, but I think we were doing a daring thing. We split up. Echo dived off a freaking roof.
Not on purpose.
That wasn't daring.
Yeah, but but they don't have to know that.
That was the opposite of daring. They were running
we
away.
We confronted unsuccessfully a ghost.
Not on purpose.
I guess
I did deliberately confront it. It was a thing that I did, but just because I failed,
Yeah, but and also you had no choice in the matter, more or less.
Half of the swashbuckling adventures in the world. Does Captain Jack Sparrow ever intentionally get himself captured by the
Okay, I'm liking Three Sheets' argument here.
No, he gets caught by the redcoats and then flings himself into the water off huge precipices. He is a daring pirate, and we are daring.
But that's not what
smugglers.
you did. That's not what
That
you
is
did.
basically what Echo did.
no.
Okay,
I think what I think about the daring reputation is, how are people going to talk about this in the pub?
I feel
And
like
people
we're
are not going to be telling the legend of that time the keepers escorted
Three Sheets.
maybe a doctor to their new house.
Three Sheets punching his way through the riot. Oh, whatever.
I feel like we're at slight cross purposes here, in that four of us are arguing for what feels right, and one of us is arguing for whatever position gets him more XP.
I think that you can only expect me to do this.
Indeed, that's why everyone else is doing it. Is that the general agreement then? 2 XP in total. Is that the general feel? Is anyone horribly unhappy with that?
No.
Except Justin.
I'm not happy with it. Do we think our crew is driven by anarchist ideals?
That's a good question.
True.
I was
Almost
under the
certainly.
impression you guys view Decker as a convenient.
Silver
guy to
definitely does,
stuff
but
rather
I don't
than
know about our
having
crew as a
anything.
whole.
But I think this is why this particular source of XP becomes easier as you go forward, because you start to get much more of an idea of the actual nature of your crew and what these things signify, and then you can role play to your strengths and fill out that. But I think at the moment it's just who are the keepers?
Yeah.
I agree.
I think we're still fledgling. I'm happy to get very little XP at the beginning, so long as we get buckets of XP next session.
Next
Buckets.
session, you will get. It's impossible, but you will get 10. It is impossible to give you 10, but you will get 10.
We will.
You will not get 10. Maybe. Hey, maybe. Huh? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Never mind.
So, if we've done the crew XP, then we can move forward. We did roll an entanglement last time, but I'm going to work that into our downtime activities. So let's get on with our downtime activities. As I think we talked about on stream last time, you have acquiring assets, long-term projects, recovery, reducing heat, training, and indulging vice. Several of you are quite damaged and stressed. So that kind of makes up some of those choices for you, but it is also worth noting you have no access to a doctor or physica of any kind. So if you want to be able to use one, you're going to have to acquire an asset or complete a more long-term project to gain access to one for your crew. So with that in mind, I don't know how shall we randomize what order these happen in? Do we think that's a good idea, or do we want to do it in a more formed, predictable manner?
I mean, I feel like I want to go first.
Okay. Do you actually feel that way, or do you just enjoy throwing the wrench in?
I mean, I'm happy either way, but given that you were just talking about not having a physica before you recover from your thing.
Okay, and
speaking of that,
okay. Well, that seems like a good choice first then. Yeah, Sam's pointed out in the chat as well. Do we do how your status with other crews changed? You didn't have enough. because there wasn't contention. You didn't really have and you weren't really targeting any of the
Didn't
crews.
piss
No,
anyone off.
like the only like a blue coat might
gonna-
get into trouble. That's about it. Like
I'm gonna kill so many billhooks now.
Go for it.
sure. With that in mind, Pierre, what do you want your first downtime activity to be?
Yeah, so it does sound to me like a really good idea to acquire a Physica or some services thereof. I can't, because I desperately need to start healing. I can't start a long-term project to do it, so I'm just acquiring assets.
You're just going to acquire that temporary asset. Yeah,
to get access to somebody to patch me up the various cuts.
Yeah, it says typically the duration of one score. So I'm assuming that will be like this downtime, and then if you want to use them during the score, you can do that. But so what you need to do is roll the crew's tier.
Yep.
Which is 0. So that's 2d6 and pick the lower. And the result indicates the quality of the asset you get. You can spend coin to raise the result of this roll. Beyond critical there. Oh, I think you can just in general spend coin. For any downtime activity, take +1 dice to the roll if a friend or contact helps you.
Okay.
After the roll, you may spend coin to improve the result level. So so that's basically it.
So right now I'd be rolling 2 dice and taking the worst.
Correct. Do you feel like any of your friends or contacts could help you acquire the use of a doctor, like in any reasonable fashion?
Personally,
Who is your friend?
My friend is Dharma, who's a blue coat.
A blue coat. Okay.
There might be like a blue coat doctor who patches up all of the the coppers.
Yeah. I don't know. Do any of you guys have anyone you could also put in a good word for me?
I think it has to be yours.
It has to be me
because it's your activity.
I mean, I'm obviously happy if Dharma can put me in touch, but
you know what? Here we go. Let's do a swapperoo here. And hopefully you're happy with it. I'm going to say you do have a contact who can help you get in contact with a doctor. I wouldn't say Dharma because I'm sure there is a blue coat Physica, but I think
whether he treat random
giving them
people
access to a gang would be a risk even Dharma would not want to particularly take. How about Decker? He knows where there's a doctor.
He does. He does indeed.
I mean, we know where there's a doctor.
Yeah, but they might not answer the door to you.
Yeah, he didn't look like he was answering a door, but potentially Decker could help us out. That is
I'm perfectly fine with this. It also gives me a chance for you to have a scene with Decker, which I'd quite like to do.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I'll talk to Decker about whether he can schmooze us in with this doctor.
So let's pick up with. Do you think you might go to see Decker in his usual kind of place of dealings in that courtyard? Maybe you want to catch him another time. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'll go to where I know he's been previously.
Sure.
And see if I can find him.
Well, maybe let's say you roll up the very next morning. As much as there is a morning in Doskvol, there's a slight brightening in the air where the sun once was. As you arrive in the courtyard where Decker often appropriately holds court, you can see there's quite a few kind of drunk people or people in various stupors lying around. Most of the the musicians and the dancers that were there. Probably, I guess that was a couple of days before aren't there, but there was a single solitary person kind of playing a melancholy tune on some kind of like stringed instrument, like a kind of a bouzouki or a mandolin. And as you go in, Decker, you can see is sat kind of like tipped back in a wooden chair with his head resting against a wall. He's got his eyes closed. Just to refresh, he's very he's kind of he just dresses in kind of just linen trousers, no top, and he's very kind of athletic, very cut guy with a shaved head and a long bushy beard that kind of like is almost down to his waist, and he's just kind of like tipping back against the wall with his eyes closed, humming something, but not the tune that's being played on the instrument.
Okay. I'll sort of casually saunter over and I'll say, hey, Decker, long time no see.
The hum, and we'll say as well, by the way, that you haven't seen him. This is like you being paid as well. Shall we say that?
Sure. Yeah,
that makes sense. You're picking up the payment. His humming kind of comes to a halt, and there's a kind of a moment of silence, and then he kind of slowly opens his eyes and leans forward and peers at you, and for a moment doesn't really seem to recognize you, and you can smell something you're not familiar with on his breath, some kind of intoxicant that he's been using. And then he tips forward really fast and like comes over to you and wraps you in kind of a bear hug, which at first worries you, and then you realize it's meant to be friendly, and kind of pounds you on the back and puts you down and says, yes, you did your job, didn't you? You did your job. Yes.
Never had any doubts.
And never have any doubts about being paid, my friend. Decker pays his debts. He reaches into like a pocket that jangles slightly and pulls out and literally like a big pouch pack of things that clink very nicely together, and kind of passes it over to you. It's not a very subtle way of going about business.
Okay, I will nevertheless attempt to as I accept it, I think I like it disappears into my cloak in like a really deft movement that like, even though it is like a massive thing, it'll like to be distributed very quickly, because I'm trying to pack it away.
I'm assuming from last time that you don't mind me speaking for certain parts of your person.
Well, like I was imagining,
yeah, maybe that thin, reedy voice comes out from your scarf. Hide it before anyone sees.
Yes, absolutely.
Decker kind of looks at you, kind of seems talking to yourself, and then just shrugs. And
it's not the craziest thing you've seen today.
No, it's not. And he's kind of bending down, kind of like picking up sort of gourds that seem to have held something, and kind of sniffing them and tossing them aside when he realizes there's nothing in them.
Yes, it looks like you've had a good time. I just wanted to say that the individual seemed a very competent one. I was wondering if perhaps we might, I don't know, make use of such an individual at your, of course, ultimate discretion.
He kind of rocks back on his heels and drums his fingers on his chest over the beard, as if kind of pondering this, and says, "For friends such as you, of course. And he kind of claps you on the shoulder, reaches into another pocket and brings out something, a small carved wooden token of a beast, not unlike a horse and not unlike an oxen, a beast you have seen before, carved on a rooftop. And he passes it to you and says, "Present this at the door, and they will see to you."
Thank you so much appreciated. You know, in exchange for this, I will offer our services again. You've been one of our best patrons.
He kind of puts his arm around you, and the keep stamp for every keeper. He puts his arm around you and kind of steers you towards the narrow sort of snickle way out of the courtyard, and says, "I have no doubt that the cause will have further use for you in coming days. Come to me again. Come to me again 2 nights hence, and there may be something. There is a war coming, keeper, and there will be jobs and coin enough for all. a wonderful day approaches, a wonderful day. And as he says this, he's kind of basically like shoving you towards the sneak away. And as you walk away, he kind of like reaches up, and you realize it's up to you whether you noticed this before, but there's actually like a gate, like quite a hefty looking one, on the entrance to this courtyard, and he kind of swings it closed with a kind of strain of his muscles. And as he swings it closed, he calls in a loud, powerful voice out to you as you retreat. Mark my words, keeper. Mark my words. The day is coming. Walls shall fall.
And then
Cool.
like I think the voice will just be like, I heard that before. And then I'll be like, shh. And then I'll walk back to our hideaway.
Sounds good.
At the lighthouse.
Well, actually, do you? I mean, it's up to you. But do you want to proceed to the doctor?
Yeah. I think depending on how close are we, are we am I close to the docks?
You're closer to the doctor. You're closer to the doctor because Decker's place is in the docks and the doctor's place is in the docks, as you know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I definitely will visit the Physica before I take this news back to my friends.
Absolutely. Well, how about we make that acquire asset roll then? And normally this is assessing how good they are at it. But you know what? I want to have some reservation about how good this doctor is as a doctor, because I see them as maybe an NPC going forward. So instead, we'll see the role will determine how busy they are, right? And therefore how much attention they have to give the keepers this time around. So it need not necessarily be actually how good they are for purposes of whether we want to use them later. Well, with Decker's help, you get to roll one die.
One die, yes.
Rather
than two and take the worst.
Two and take the worst, right? So, if you want to
give safe hands.
Oh, I rolled a 5. So
awesome.
That is the tier.
Yeah.
Which is
so the results equal the quality of the asset you get using the crew's tier as the base. So basically that's at tier 0 then, so you're still going to have to do that. However, you can spend coin to raise the result of this, and if you spent 1 coin there, that would mean they are tier 1, which would mean for any heal rolls made in this downtime, it would be 1 die instead of 2 die with a disadvantage. So it's up to you, and that can be your coin or the crew's coin.
I mean, I am currently flush with coin, and the crew is conspicuously not here to object. So I think I will spend 2 crew coin on this.
2?
Well, it's 2 coin per +1 tier bonus.
No, increase the result level by 1 for each coin spent.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case,
activities,
I will not exceed this vastly.
Sure.
Well, in that case, 3 coin.
3 coin.
So,
I could do it in order to make it a super.
Yeah, but then also then you'd be dead when you come home because you just spent 3 of the crew coin.
We'd have knifed you. So you're spending one of the crew coin on this, yeah? I mean, it seems like a reasonable thing. A bunch of you have to heal, so it seems like a reasonable thing. In that case, John, go ahead and reduce the crew coin by 1. And hey, in our little timeline here, Echo has the payment from Decker. So. Okay,
I can just distribute this.
And now I'm assuming that your second activity is going to be recovery.
Yes.
Well, in that case, I know we were going to kind of hop between people, but you're right here, right, with the doctor. Yeah. So shall we go ahead and do that? Let's say you turn up on the doorstep of that house. It's got like a little kind of portal in the front of it, and after you knock and kind of show the symbol, the door opens and you're ushered in by that individual. Under the kind of slightly warmer gaslight of a slightly more furnished and welcoming house now, they show no signs whatsoever of recognizing you or kind of, you slip them some coin to do a good job, and they're still dressed as they were before in kind of like those swaths of red cloth, and yeah, let's see how that recovery goes. So you'd increased it so it's 1 die. So essentially, the healer rolls tinker for a the quality level, and then you mark a number of segments on your healing clock. Yeah, okay. So it's up to you guys. With the healing, do you want me to roll, or do you guys want to roll for it? It's up to you.
I can roll.
Yeah, go for it.
Mind.
Why don't you go for it? So
I'm rolling 1 die because of that thing that I upgraded, right?
Yep.
I got 2.
Okay, in that case, so what you need is a healing project clock.
Yep, I got
yeah,
one.
yeah. And you fill that by 1 segment.
Brilliant.
Yeah. When you fill your healing clock, you reduce each instance of harm by 1 level, then clear the clock.
Yep. Okay, so I'm still 3 away from full healing.
From any, not even full healing, any kind of healing. Well, I don't know what is your harm.
It's a level 2, so to go down to a level 1.
Yep. Yeah. So you're 7 segments away from getting rid of it completely.
Healing is so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's very hard if you're rolling 1 dice.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
What if? Well,
Justin?
So
no, nothing.
What if I spend more coin?
I mean,
No,
you can do.
That's not an option. It's not an option.
No, I'm being very selfless and not spending all of this coin.
Sure.
Did we ever
that's
decide?
selfish. You know that you're not going to have a home if you spend all the coin. You're being selfish.
Absolutely.
Did we ever decide if we were going to give a coin to our overlord, our gang overlord?
You did. Yeah, you did. And you did decide, and you did do it.
Okay.
You felt like getting yourself in immediate trouble with the grinders was heat
Not
that
a
you
good
didn't
plan.
want to bring down.
Yeah.
I tell you what, actually, let's talk about that entanglement, right? And it says, like, basically it's up to people whether the GM declares what it's going to be beforehand or not. But also, this entanglement is something I need information from you guys for. So why don't we talk about that, and then I can find out where that comes in. So the entanglement you're getting is the usual suspects. The blue coats grab someone in the periphery of your crew. 1 player volunteers a friend or vice purveyor as the person most likely to be taken. And then that will come into play in the downtime period. I think it's fine that we didn't really have Pierre in for that, and I'll work into one of the others, because Darmot doesn't feel like the right one to be pulled in for that. Because if he gets pulled in for that, he's probably dead, right?
Yeah,
because he's
a corrupt blue coat.
I mean, all the blue coats are corrupt, but like if he's been used as a scapegoat for it or whatever, like So who thinks that one of their friends or vice purveyors might be someone to pull in? I feel like we haven't built up much of a relationship with. I mean, we haven't with the friends, but with the vice purveyors, maybe that would feel a bit odd for them to be pulled in for something. Looking at your list of vice purveyors, but what do people think? Is there anyone they'd want to volunteer?
Decker.
It's friends, not contacts. So.
Damn it.
Yeah, you have to care about them.
Bricks. I know, I'm just being silly. Yeah, I don't. I mean, my contact's a spy. I don't really want them to be pulled in. Sounds like it would be fatal for them.
It could be my contact, who is a sex worker, Nyrix.
Could be
Bricks as well.
My friend, is a pugilist who I know from the various fighting rings around the city.
I mean,
So
we're
quite
throwing
close,
them under
so
a
that
bus.
could be, if someone is like who hangs out with Bricks the most, it would probably be her.
And I guess that's kind of a public one as well, isn't it? Like if you're in fighting pits together or something.
I mean, just the only thing I would add is that I guess that Silver was the only person who was observed on the mission by a blue coat, so it might make sense for Silver's friend to be the one taken.
I don't mind.
It's up to you guys.
Maybe not though.
Let's volunteer. Let's volunteer, Silver.
You want, I can. It sounds like there's arguments for both Bricks and Silver. Shall I roll a die for it?
I'm happy with that. I'm very happy. I really don't mind.
I like an element of luck as well, right? Because that makes it like unpredictable. Otherwise, if you have this happen multiple times, you'll end up sending the same person every time because it's the one that makes most sense.
Yeah, and it kind of doesn't make sense for us to have control over an enemy faction's actions.
Sure, I think that of a
Yeah.
few bits and pieces in this, but also I am a GM who holds onto GM fiats like a precious magical ring. So my opinion should not be sought on these things. Cool. Okay, we're going to go with Bricks.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool. Your pugilist friend.
Your pugilist, yes, pugilist friend specifically. But having said that, so now we've dealt with Pierre. Do we now want to go random, or does someone want to leap in?
Should we go to Bricks and were you going to do your stress relief, Bricks?
Well, off the back of what we were just talking about, I was going to train by going to the local boxing ring at the docks,
Seems
where
sensible.
I would probably be looking for Marlene.
Yeah.
And then from the proceeds from my training,
Mm-hmm.
I would then be going to indulge my vice.
Sure. Well, then, that seems very appropriate. So I have to make, just for transparency, I have to make a fortune roll to see how much they caved. So how that works, it's basically to remove decision making and put something kind of up to chance. Exactly how you determine how many dice go into this is slightly, I think it's something we kind of talk about. So you start on a 1D basis, and essentially, actually what we'll do, we'll start it at your gang tier, because I figure even for your friends, this is how much they would be afraid of tattling on you. That seems quite reasonable, right? But why don't you argue why there'd be major advantages or disadvantages on this roll? And that's basically what we do. We kind of agree together the die pool size. I'm willing to up it by 1 because is she called Marlene?
Marlene.
I have rolled up Marlene and she's tough as fuck. So he's a pugilist fighter. Wouldn't roll over easily.
What's
right?
the blue coat's going to do?
Yeah.
So I think I'll upgrade that to 1. Is there anything else?
So it's about it's about they're being questioned on the score we just did.
I don't think it's necessarily precisely to do with that, but I see no reason to make it not that.
I guess we haven't really attracted very much heat. Like it's not really an important.
So they wouldn't really lean on her that much.
Yeah, maybe I don't know.
Yeah, the main thing that we did against the Bluecoats was like breaching quarantine, or breaching those lines. But then again, I guess we weren't obviously part of the riot, apart from 3 sheets occasionally.
And I guess there's like a certain question mark over. You don't know how important the mission you just did was, and how much that person might be public enemy number 1 for all you know. But yeah, sure. You know what? I think that's a fair enough argument. I'm going to give you an extra die for that. Anything else?
I mean, this is kind of up to Bricks, but I just wonder how much would Bricks doesn't seem like a huge talker. How much would Marlene know about what we do or have done?
But it's not.
That is quite a good point.
It's not so much that they do find out specific things about you as just they've been pulled in. And because the end result isn't necessarily that you gain heat. It can be that you gain heat, but it could also be that Marlene has just had the shit kicked out of her, which is really dependent on.
I thought the role was for how much information they give away.
No, not specific.
Okay.
It can that can be a result that you gain heat, but but heat isn't even necessarily things have been given away. It could be just they were frustrated by and they've doubled their efforts or various things. I think so.
What about if the Bluecoats have already had the crap kicked out of them in the riots and they're tired? They're not very good at kicking in people's faces today.
I don't think they were all there, so I think that's a no on that.
Fair enough.
I think we're there. Unless anyone has got anything else, I think I'll roll a 2 for it. And this is just we will role play out the scene, but I just want to see what state Marlene's in, right?
Come on, Marlene.
Okay.
Come on, Marlene.
No.
So, you're heading to the fighting pits. Is that right?
I'm heading to the boxing ring at the docks first.
The boxing ring
later heading to the fighting pit.
Sure. the fighting pit, which I believe, because I read up on these things,
Look this up.
it is in Dunslow.
That's it.
Which is basically the area of town that has a massive, massive prison in. And forewarned, by the way, I rolled up everyone's contacts, everyone's like friends and enemies and stuff. Sergeant Velk, your vice purveyor, is literally in prison.
Right.
Okay.
That's where he arranges the fights from. So,
Oh, okay. That's fine, as long as it doesn't get in the way.
No, not at all. Just for flavor, just so you know. So yeah, you go to the boxing, kind of a boxing ring at the docks, and there's a couple of fights already going on. You know, it's very raucous. You can see various members of gangs here, but this is almost weirdly like a no man's land, like a
Elysium.
vampiric Elysium sort of thing, right? Like everyone's fighting already, so it doesn't really matter. You can see kind of a couple of bill hooks. You can see at least one of the red sashes wearing one of their red sashes. And as you enter, you can see Marlene over in one corner. Let's describe Marlene for you. So Marlene is a tall, quite muscular woman. She has a completely shorn head and a lot of scars over her face and her body as well. Most of them seemingly from combat of some kind. She has a patient nature, but also something slightly odd and off-putting about her. Kind of an odd, maybe slightly eerie sense about her, or sometimes when talking to her, you just get the feeling that something's kind of maybe hovering over your left shoulder. And Marlene is kind of strapping up her fists for a fight, but she looks like she's already been in one, and a hell of a one. She's got a broken nose and kind of very, very badly bruised, black eyes.
I will start, I'll find a place near her to similarly start taking my coat off and strap up my fists and say, "You make any money out of that?" Gesturing to her already battered face.
She's kind of looking down as she's taping her hands and kind of glances up at you and says, "No, and you should be thanking me."
Should I?
Bluecoats pulled me in, asking me about a crew operating out of Silkshore.
Right. And what did you tell them?
She kind of gestures at her face and says, "What do you think?"
That's why I like you, Marlene.
You like me because I'm the only one who can put you on your back.
How about we go prove it?
She stands up and you go beat the living shit out of each other for a couple of hours. So that is your training. Yeah, mark 1 XP on the XP track for an attribute or playbook advancement. Yeah, it's up to you which one you use, but I'm guessing you want to use prowess because you just went boxing to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, great. There we go. Let's hop between some other people then while we're doing it, and screw it. Let's just random it. Folks. Right, Justin.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want your first downtime activity to be?
Oh, I'm gonna go find a Black Lotus den, and do what comes naturally.
Absolutely. So I believe your primary vice purveyor, although it doesn't have to be them necessarily, is Madame Teslin.
Love it.
The Red Lamp brothel in Silkshore. Although
Right.
your particular vice is only coincidentally granted in brothels, because your particular vice is intoxicants, yes, and specifically the horribly losing yourself in them thereof. So let's have a look at the mechanics first. So when you indulge your vice, you clear some stress from your character's stress track. Explain how you indulge your vice, including which purveyor you go to. It doesn't have to be your standard one, but
She's the closest. I love it.
yeah, absolutely is. And you roll to find out how much stress relief your character receives. A vice roll is like, I love how they explain this. A vice roll is like a resistance roll in reverse. So it's just a normal die roll, as in you remove the amount that you roll. Rather than gaining stress levels, you clear stress levels. The effectiveness of your indulgence depends on your character's worst attribute rating.
Yep.
It's your weakest quality, insight, prowess, or resolve that is most in thrall to vice. So is that a 1? Nice. Could be a 0, couldn't it? You can start with a 0 in an attribute, I think, easily. Clear stress equal to the highest die result. Why don't you? And it also, there's a fun thing that happens if your vice roll clears more stress levels than you have, because that means you've overindulged.
Nice. Hopefully that happens. I mean, it can't happen because I have 6 stress.
Yeah. Sure.
So I'm going to
Go
roll,
for it.
and we'll see what happens. 2 stress is cleared.
2 stress cleared. What does that leave you with?
4 stress.
Cool. So why don't you talk to us? Why don't you paint a picture of 3 sheets in the Red Lamp brothel? I don't see any particular need to introduce the madam and go into a big role play scene about it necessarily. But why don't you talk us through?
I envisage something like an opium den, and it is bodies of completely stupefied men and women, filthy, been there for days. I plan to spend days here, preferably,
Sure.
and I'm sure that if something important happens, my crew will drag me physically from this place and chuck me into a hopefully shallow part of the harbour so that I can be refreshed. And I trust that completely.
Absolutely. So there we go. 3 sheets spends a few days at the Red Lamp brothel, probably in the basement of it, because the Red Lamp is a fairly sophisticated place. You don't want that happening in the visibility of their more expensive clientele. So there we go. Let's go to Sam. Sam hasn't had a go, so
I'm also going to indulge my vice,
which is quite different.
Yeah. Opposite end of the spectrum, maybe in some ways. My vice is luxury, and I think what I'd like to do is, I feel like I'm living in a bit of a hovel at the moment, and I'd like to just go and try and absolutely waste my money, or potentially even steal some just nice things from my house. Like, I just want nicer things. It's not good enough at the moment.
Sure. Well, shall we? I mean, we can use I've got your primary vice purveyor as Dundridge and Sons, fine fabrics and tailoring in Night Market, which is it's actually a place detailed in the book, excitingly, and is it's noted that it has very good wares, but it's actually quite reasonable prices. So we don't have to and with this stuff, you don't have to spend coin on it or anything. It's
your pocket money you're spending.
Yeah. So do you fancy going there and maybe looking through some swatches and maybe getting some nice hangings for your room in the lighthouse, that kind of thing?
Surely all silver can afford is a nice handkerchief. A strip of fabric on tier 0.
Silver is not above stealing to get something nice if she needs.
I'm imagining her just coming back with some new curtains.
Yeah, exactly. Just maybe new bed
go
sheet.
over the boarded up windows.
Sure.
But
this is
we
why
don't
we need
live in the lighthouse, do we?
If we had a betting sponsor.
You don't necessarily. Come on, guys. Let's let Sam have his bit. I think you have some quarters there, but no, you don't necessarily live there. No.
Okay, I was under the impression we needed some upgrade that we didn't take to live in our
possibly.
lair.
Well, then maybe some fine kind of sheets and hangings for your,
Yeah, my terrible house because I'm extremely poor at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay. Well, while you're there, and I don't want to go too far into the character or anything like that. I don't want to go into NPC overload at the moment. But the person you usually deal with at Dundridge is called Caslin Dundridge, one of the younger members of the Dundridge family who've run this shop for generations. And an individual whose boots you have always very much admired. And she helps you pick out some very reasonable kind of like drapes and sheets that you can go home and decorate. I mean, you probably don't live in filth, right? Because you probably live in very rough but nicely kept surroundings. Otherwise,
Yeah, exactly.
All the fabric goes to waste. Well, why don't you give us that roll? Yeah, your weakest attribute, please.
My weakest attribute is prowess. Doesn't make. That's what it is. Don't have a dice roller. I get a 1.
Turns out drapes don't do that much.
Yeah, bloody drapes.
Overhyped. So, with that in mind, let's have a roll for the secondary action for people, and that is Justin again. So, Justin, what are you doing with your second downtime activity, please?
Staying there. I'm not waking up.
Double it up.
Yeah,
Sounds good. You've got a load of stress, right? So, have you got any
if I
harm?
didn't, yeah,
but it's not much, right? It's just like a level.
I'm horribly hungover.
But is it a level? Is it a tier 1, like a level 1?
It's like the first level.
Yeah. That's not too bad, right? So,
Yeah,
give us that roll. And if you get a 6 now, that'll be hilarious.
I hope so. I really hope so. I've looked at the overindulgences and I'm like, all of them sound really good. So 5. I've overindulged. Yes.
No, you haven't, have you?
I was on 4, and now I'm on 0.
I thought you said it was impossible. Oh yeah, you have.
It was impossible for one roll to overindulge, but now
yeah.
happily overindulged.
1, but that was Sam. Exciting stuff.
Now,
so
if I had the completely free choice, I would disappear for 2 weeks because it sounds great, but I don't think that's a sensible decision to do.
Not unless we have backup characters, which we do not. So. Which
we should definitely get. But instead, I want to attract trouble. I'm a very daring person.
You want another entanglement.
I want more entanglements.
You want another entanglement. We can do another entanglement. We can do
I want to kill a man.
Your wanted level is 0, right, at the moment, John?
Let me check. Yes.
And what's your heat level?
2.
2. Cool. Okay.
Yes.
Oh God.
You know what, you guys? We didn't have enough entanglements in the previous session. We didn't get nearly enough XP. I want someone to shoot me while I'm in drunken stupor.
Marlene gets arrested again. I'm going to send her around to beat the crap out of you.
That sounds very reasonable.
That's fine. I'm so out of it, I wouldn't even notice.
On the plus side, of course, all your stress is gone. So, incidentally, there is something bad that happens if you don't indulge your vice if you have any number of traumas. So that's something that we'll deal with at the end if because it echoes the end with the trauma.
But she misses it because she's a first. She got a last session.
The first time. Okay, cool. Yeah. Well then, yeah, let's do a thing. Let's do a thing with this. So, 3 sheets. It's a few days later, and you are stumbling out of the doorway of the Red Lamp. It's difficult enough to tell what time it is in Duskfall anyway. But in your current state, you really have no way of doing it. And you stumble out onto like an unusually quiet street in Silkshore, and you kind of register that it must perhaps be late at night or something like that. And you turn to kind of like stumble away. And as you do so, like something feels wrong. At first, you feel like you're going to vomit. And you what would you do to it? I guess you'd lean on a wall and bend over. I don't want to take away your player agency by saying what you do if you're trying to feel like you're going to vomit.
I mean, does anyone? I mean, like, Duskfall's horrible. I'll just vomit in the street.
Just vomit in the street. Yeah, you lean over and kind of start to kind of spit, and then you realize that's not it, but there's something turning over in your stomach, and then you feel the hairs on your arm start to rise, and almost like, you know, it's like suddenly you know it's there, and you turn, and further down the street, a horribly familiar bluish grayish form hovering in the air, vague crackling coming from kind of the rubbish and empty boxes along the side of the street. A couple of them are starting to kind of spark off each other as it glides towards you, and you stand there kind of rooted in fear. Do you want to I will front load this by saying I'm not about to like pile harm on you or anything, just for the purposes of role play. Do you want to resist the urge to either freeze or flee?
Fleeing would be number one option. So
I'm not sure. You know, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think. Do I choose or do you choose what happens?
I suppose the options also. The question would be: do I have any of my gear from my previous? Do I keep any gear on me, like from my loadouts, or?
I think having a bit of gear on you would be fine. It's up to you. I don't want to make a big role thing out of this. I just want to do a little role play scene. But what do you think?
I think fleeing sounds good.
Okay. In that case, you turn to run, and as you do so, you kind of, you're running desperately through the streets. Sort of. Do you think you'd be making noise, or is it just kind of like a desperate panting?
Oh well,
wailing and
well, yeah, sure. I mean, I think Three Sheets has really little control of the situation.
Absolutely.
Flailing, shouting.
Do you
definitely like maybe making a mess of themselves? It could anything.
Sure. What's Three Sheets' real name?
Three Sheets' real name is Styron Brass. I nearly looked it up.
Styron Brass. As you do so, you can just hear a voice. It's partly kind of echoing through the street behind you, and partly just kind of arriving, not in your ears, but kind of like the back of your head. Like there's a voice just behind you, just saying, "Styron." You stumble through the streets for what feels like minutes before you can come to a halt, kind of panting and staring around behind you. There's no sign of it. Obviously, it can sometimes be difficult to tell the difference between one ghost and another. But you probably are a betting man. You've probably got a multitude of vices, and you would put coin that was the ghost from the rooftop in the docks.
Gee, and he knows my name. Ridiculous. And I'm here. I'm covered in old urine, fresh urine. Like
there we go.
I'm a mess. What a night or a day. I don't even know what time it is.
So there's that entanglement, and entanglements can carry on. And they don't have to be resolved in one downtime.
I don't see how that could possibly lead to anything.
Nah, surely not. When has a callback ever led to anything else? So let's go with John. So your second one, I think, was your indulging vices at the fighting pits?
Yes.
Absolutely. So you make your way to Dunslow. You make your way to the fighting pits near the labor camp, near the prison. Dunslow is a grim place where people are trudging in lines from places where they've been assigned to work and back to cells, back to camps. And in among it all is a fighting pit that is raucous and attended 24 hours a day, it's safe to say. Velk has had a fight for you racked up for a long couple of weeks now, and the day is finally here. Shall we have your roll? I'm interested to see how I might make a fortune roll to see how well you do as well, which is unrelated to the stress. Like it won't affect it, but
that's fair enough.
Whether you come first.
So my lowest rating is still only 1, so I'm still only rolling 1 die.
That's bad. Like I say, it can easily be 0, right? So
that's true.
When you're starting character, you could definitely not have a point in any of the
overindulge.
I overindulged.
Yes.
I have 5 stress. Okay. Disclaimer: my character sheet didn't actually save after the last session, so
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I had 5 stress.
Okay.
Because I remember saying
none of us
at
will
one
know.
point. Yeah.
So
I think I said it on stream at one point, but I believe I had 5 stress. I just rolled a 6. so I overindulged.
Okay, on the bright side, you know.
That was a lot of fighting.
But did you win any money?
No.
Probably not.
So 156 is the list if you want to have a look at that and see what you want to pick.
1, 5.
Disappear for 2 weeks.
No.
Oh,
I
like
did
the
like
idea
that
that-
there is a thing. If your stress gets too high, you can just say your character disappears, and just play a different character.
I do like the idea that like Bricks earned loads of money from winning, but also had a gold tooth knocked out, so it all evens out.
Yeah.
We had to pay for a
Net zero.
pay for all the patching up that is needed after the fight.
I think, it's a lot of heat, but I think bragging about it. It's a
I
big
think
fighting
that
pit
sounds like
fight.
a good one as well.
That's such a
Uh,
brick thing to do.
You know what? Let's go with that fortune roll as well. What's your prowess?
My prowess.
Actually, no. It'll be skirmish. It'll be your skirmish level.
2.
2. I can't think of any. We don't know enough about the circumstance to say major advantages or disadvantages. I don't think so. We'll just go with that roll.
Yeah.
I think. Let's see.
And your vice is gambling, not fighting, right?
Yeah, but I was definitely betting on myself.
Yeah.
Sure.
Which is a real gamble in the fighting pits.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially in this one where you basically thrashed away at your equally meaty opponent until essentially everyone got bored watching and just called it. And it was announced a draw. You didn't really make any money off it. And basically the kind of frustration of that, you worked out a lot of your stress, but the frustration of that was like, oh, I could have had them, and everyone, well, maybe, and that led to you last, a month ago, I was in the docks turning a billhook's face into pulp, etc., etc., and you accidentally spilled the beans to a lot of people on some of the keeper's most recent terrible activities. So can you raise the crew heat by 2, please?
Yes.
Glorious.
Oof. So Sam, you're the final downtime activity unless people want to buy more. So what are you going to do?
More drugs.
I do think I'm right. I'm still on 4 stress, which I should probably do another vice.
You guys just like crying about your your stress while I just coexist on 5.
Didn't you lose all your stress when you had your trauma?
Yes.
And then gained a bunch.
And then
That's your own
gained
fault.
5.
That's your own fault.
That's the thing. You get so much stress. I really don't want to start another score with already like half my stress. So I'm gonna vice it up again.
Sure.
Overindulge.
Hopefully I won't overindulge.
Hopefully you will.
I really like the idea that like the reason that the last one wasn't so good is because you like dropped a load of your fabrics in the muddy puddles. So they were
You should go buy some more.
Yeah. So I see no reason to kind of go through. It's a similar kind of thing, right? So let's just go with another roll, shall we?
Okay. I get a 3, which is just
Okay, pretty
just
much
right.
as good, almost as good as you could get there for that
Yeah.
roll, I think.
Yeah.
So there we go. Yeah, you clearly the problem was not the idea of drapes, but the relative paucity of drapes. So you have gone back for more drapes, and now you are all draped up.
Is it like you're throwing the old ones in the bin?
Positively draping with.
No, it has to be like layers of
dripping?
drapes.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, I
that's-
see.
That's the key.
Setting off the old ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is an option, should anyone want to do it, where you can do more downtime activities. Each additional activity from the list costs 1 coin or 1 rep, and you don't need other people's permission to do it.
If you do, then
You
we'll
can, of
break your
course-
legs.
I don't think we have personal coin at this point, right? Because just no one has any.
Echo
But
spends it all.
obviously, if you did have personal coin, you could spend that, but there is none. So
Is there no crew coin?
There is, but I kind of don't want to tell you how much there is.
Yeah, don't tell
Uh,
them.
We can't have
So-
much.
So here's the thing. Here's my logic.
Break Echo's legs.
In order to heal, right? We need to acquire asset, and I cannot if we do this by acquire asset, heal 1, acquire asset, heal 1. That's a really, really bad way of spending our downtimes, and so it makes a lot of sense to go back to that doctor and try and get just a little bit more.
You,
No,
like I say, you do not need the permission of the others to do it.
Okay, well in that case, let's
It's
go
only-
for it.
I guess we could agree as a
Let's go for
group
it.
that you do, but that
Screw
seems
you
at
guys.
odds with Blades and Dark, I think.
Let's just do it. You guys can be annoyed at me.
Echo has
You were
spent
given
all,
2 coin.
Has
I
Echo spent
was-
all of our cash on frivolous things like medical attention?
So how much coin is there left? Is there just 1 coin left?
There's 2.
There's 2. Okay. So it sounds like Pierre's going back to the doctor, spending another coin for another roll.
I'm going for this. Yeah.
Okay. Well then,
selfishly pursuing this healing of myself.
absolutely. And you know what? I think,
Selfish.
yeah.
Bastards.
Let's have another roll then.
Okay.
So
So
it was-
assume
I
it's just
believe
the
we were
same.
rolling 1
One D6.
die. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to do that.
Yeah, because because it's
You
via.
better roll well.
Oh, it was a 1.
What?
Oh yeah, so worth it.
Great. So wonderful. So that's you just doubled your healing.
Whoa, I'm on 2 pips now.
Yep.
I'm starting to think this doctor might not be all they're
This
cracked
doctor
up
is
to be.
crap.
I love the idea that Echo has spent all this coin on a doctor. He comes back in, doesn't look healed at all.
Literally, he's been given sugar pills each time.
Ugh.
He's just been given placebos. It's just the usual.
You've literally spent, I think, what we earned on the last score trying to recover from the damage of the last
Of
score.
the last score. Yeah.
Echo's
And,
like, look,
and
you got to
aren't
think
even,
about
like, an
this. If
8
every
there.
score, if I spend all of the money we get from it, we could just stay still forever.
So I think I will return to the. I think in game I'll return and I'll be looking very sheepish.
Well,
I'll
Three
come
sheets.
back.
3 sheets.
I'll-
Who has? Go on.
I'll initially be trying to say something like, "Yeah, he didn't pay us. Oh, he gave us no, and then I'll be like, I just can't. I can't hide it from you guys." And I'll be like, I spent it.
Don't tell them; they'll hurt you.
No, they won't. They're friends. And then,
Ollie.
look, I'm sorry, Bricks. I was really hurt, and as I'm saying this, I'm looking at you, and you're obviously very wounded from your fight. Your recent fights in the pits.
I've never seen such a creature as despicable as you. I say, caked in my own filth from the drugs. You're the lowest of the low, Echo.
Still
the lowest
shaking.
of the low.
Still shaking from withdrawal and spiritual fear.
Yeah.
You disgust me.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean it. And it's true. You've done us all dirty, Echo.
What can I say? We need to go for bigger scores. I need this. By the way, nice
Sorry.
drink.
Beautiful.
These drapes do not pay for themselves, Echo. How am I supposed to get? How can I possibly afford quality cloth like this if you're spending all that money without consulting the rest of the crew? I'm extremely disappointed.
Look, I'll make it up to you. I'll find a new score.
What a waster.
And
The next one's just around the corner.
speaking of a new score, Echo knows where to go to get one a couple of days later. Back to the courtyard, right?
Yep.
Do we want to go there together? John's broken, by the way. Do we want to go there together, or are we just sending Echo in? Kind of, oh, you deal with this.
There is no way.
There's no way you trust Echo to do
go on his
anything.
own. Absolutely not.
Echo's not even going on the next score.
I am, yeah. I am shadowing Echo for the foreseeable future, partly to protect her, partly to threaten her into not doing anything stupid.
Oh man.
I just want there to be
Oh,
constantly, every minute that Three Sheets is standing there looking absolutely wretched, just like disappointed.
So disappointing.
I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed.
So, a couple of days later, back at the courtyard, it is more empty than full this time. You can hear the sound of some kind of Severosi music coming from one of the higher up windows on the courtyard, and a couple of people kind of drinking in a corner, but otherwise fairly empty actually. Decker pulls that gate open and waves the four of you in and gestures over to a nearby table that's been laid out with some kind of pittances of food, sort of some stewed mushrooms and the like, and kind of urges you to the table and kind of proffers it as if it's a great feast. It is definitely not a great feast. And then he sits down at the head of the table while you eat and kind of gives kind of magnanimous gestures. You know, here is how I feed my people, and puts kind of his feet up on the table, and you can see kind of the nails of his feet are kind of gnarled and overgrown, and his feet are just covered in the worst kind of filth. And are we eating? I mean, it's not a great feast, but it is edible.
I have an important question. Is it that there are like 4 plates laid out full of food, or is it that there are a variety of bowls and a stack of plates?
Is it a buffet? Is that what you're asking me? Is it a buffet? Justin and Pierre are just like, there's something funny about buffet. Look. I said in a Simbaroom session that there was a buffet, and everyone mocked me for it.
It wasn't just that it was a buffet. It was an underground, like, religious cult, and they offered us a buffet as soon as we arrived.
It's not a fucking buffet. It's not a buffet.
How close is?
There was a plate for it. There was a bowl of mushroom stew for each of you.
How close are his feet to my mushroom stew?
Well, let's say real close.
I'll take Echo's mushroom stew. I'm ravenous after my bender.
I will be poking at it as Three Sheets takes it away.
Sure.
You don't deserve this, Echo, after what you've done.
So Decker claps his hands together after you kind of started tucking in and says, "So, friends, there is more work to be done in Doskval. As you all know, the cause, its needs are great. They burn, my friends, deep inside us all. There is a man, a courtesan, called Pharos. He's in 6 towers. He needs to be here. He has information the cause desperately requires, and it should not be in the hands of the authorities. He should not resist. He has given some agreements to my demands so far, in writing. But if he does, dead is better than not being brought. Am I clear?"
Perfectly clear. Very, very well understood.
Yes, I'm sure you do, but he leans kind of forward across the table and kind of reaches out, and Silver was the one to talk here, and he points directly at Silver and says, tell me what must be done."
You would like us to bring this man, Pharos, who is currently in 6 towers, to here in the docks. And from what I understand, his state does not matter a great deal to you as long as he is brought here.
Yes, I would prefer to talk to the man, but if that is not possible, things happen as they must. And this is a sad, sad city of violence.
Yes, sometimes it cannot be helped, but we'll do our absolute best. I'm sure we can accomplish this for you, and no harm will come to him. I'm certain.
I am sure as well. Well, he claps again. More mushrooms for you on your return, yes.
Mm.
And coin.
Do you know where we can find this Pharos? Maybe a street or
You
a
know
house
what?
number?
He does have a street. And I forgot to roll it up. So let me go. Fortunately, there's suggested street names for every district.
I
So
just don't
let
want a
me go.
repeat of the last session.
No
Of the
worries.
last, you
There
know.
we go. Six Towers is over on the east there, by the way. It's like a formerly prestigious district that's fallen to a pale shadow of what it once was. And let's do a little roll here. Bowmore Way. It's a street called Bowmore Way.
Do we have like the equivalent of an address?
No. He
Damn
just
it.
says that they'll be on Bowmore Way. He kind of doesn't make out that you have to find a house again. This game is not going to turn into an endless sequence of that. He says
That's
they
okay.
will be waiting for you on Bowmore Way.
And you want them returned right here?
He nods solemnly.
Well, so just to be clear, is your courtesan as in a fancy man, or is in a fancy man?
A courtesan is a fancy man.
Right.
Courtesan is in effect like a, not always a sex worker, but a high class escort / sex worker.
Okay.
Very high class.
Right.
So, what do we think about our plan then?
Yes, time to get onto the planning phase, folks. And I'm going to say, like, I think what's for the best here is not if you plan how to get to Six Towers and go to the street, because I think the thing you need to plan for here, and it's a transport one again, right? So the detail we need is the route and the means. Well, I say that you of course get to decide what it is. Yes, I shouldn't have. Yeah. So we have assault, deception, stealth, occult, social, and transport.
The only one I was going to
carrying cargo or people through danger.
Yeah, the only one I was going to possibly argue for is if we went for social as a means to get to the courtesan. But I think obviously transport is the main one because we are transporting.
The challenge here, just like, and I guess it's spoilers. The challenge here will not be finding the courtesan.
Sure.
So planning for that will leave you with no plan, in essence. So the route and the means, and I would suggest, but it's entirely up to you, the route and means back would be the thing rather than there, if you see what I mean. Because the transport is returning, right? To get there, you just get in your boat or walk to Six Towers.
Can we do any, like, get some information before we make a plan? Do we have to do the plan immediately?
Let me just take a quick look, because this was something last time that we were like, is it, basically, I think the intention is you provide the missing detail, which is the route and how you're doing it, and then we go in and extra stuff is done via flashbacks. But we did make a roll last time, so
what about like some form of we bring multiple carriages and then we use we send each one off in a different direction,
or
and one of them contains.
Sure. How are you getting your hands on multiple carriages?
Stealing them.
Yes.
We could do a deception. We could do a decoy. We could dress Brick up like this courtesan, and then dress this courtesan up like Brick, and do a switcheroo. And then we could look like we're escorting the courtesan when really Brick will smash their faces in.
I suppose, if it is.
Well, I mean, I think
you're proposing a
deception. Not really. I think really stealth and transport are the sensible ones.
I don't think stealth really works here, because I think stealth is like breaking into a place and stuff, because the detail on it is the point of infiltration, and you don't need a point of infiltration.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah, that's true.
Could we, if we're happy to go for the like runaway carriages, could we potentially have found like, oh yeah, nearby there's a
If you want to make the roll for whether you find several empty carriages nearby waiting for your elaborate scheme, then yes, but I'm going to give it a 0 chance of working unless you punt something into it, because
Okay.
it just feels like that wouldn't happen.
Okay, so
In terms of transport, we don't have anything other than our boat at the
Yeah,
moment.
specifically that's why your crew has
And
that, because that's
our
something you have.
sure.
Could we have the map up, please?
Yeah. So there are, plenty of canals. There's the kind of river, those river channels that go round. Like your vessel, your boat would certainly be an option.
Yeah.
And when I said the stuff about the carrier, if you want to do that, that's cool. I'm just obviously going to give
It's gonna be difficult.
It's going to be real difficult to be able to engineer that.
Sure.
And also, it's quite restrictive because there's only so many bridges between the islands.
Yeah, and there's only so many. Yeah,
I would
that's
say
fair
I'm
enough.
not going to focus on kind of the minutiae like that, because it's much more kind of high
Sure.
level.
So we need a specific detail relating to a route. So something that's not quite like boat would not be enough. Probably what we would probably want is something like
not quite, but yeah.
Like, how about a thing where the plan is to jump off a low bridge and land on the boat as a means of I don't know, or is that too elaborate?
Let's go with transport and boat as a start, and we'll take and I think I would rather go, well, I think canals is our best option, because I think if we get into more open water, there's fewer places for us to hide the boat should like a big steamer full of blue coats
certainly true. Yeah.
Whereas if we
think,
kind of weave in and out of the canals, then we can.
I think that level of it is a question when you start playing this, right? What level of detail do the plans need to be? I think the intention is that they're rather fast and loose, but not yet more so than like we're on a boat.
I think typically they have one specific cool detail, and the idea is that the specific cool detail is like something like juicy that is why this plan is cool.
Something to hang off. Yeah. So like you could have like how you set up. So like, oh, these of us are in the street and the other one's keeping watch on a rooftop, or or your little bridge detail. Like, we've got the boat moored under a bridge nearby, and like in case he rabbits or whatever, like we're going to grab him and bundle him and throw him off the bridge or something like that. Yeah.
Could we have, instead of carriages, could we have one extra boat and then we switch boats under a bridge somewhere to try and throw people off where he actually is or where he's going?
I'm going to say you can't just have an extra boat, because literally buying an extra boat is a crew upgrade. But we could do. Let's not do rolls now. I definitely think you're not meant to do rolls now, but we could do a flashback for it.
Yeah.
Once we're going.
Well, the other thing that we could do, like as a way of accomplishing that's quite within our means, is just having disguised our boat to look like one that we know is nearby, and therefore we're effectively piggybacking off the fact that like we're going to pin it on that other guy, whoever that is.
Sure. So are we saying that we're doing a boat scheme with some amount of some kind of switcheroo deception in it?
Deception that we can clarify once we're up and running.
Yeah.
Because also, like, it's kind of like you're planning for things, but because of the way these things are set up, obviously you drive the narrative, but I've got ideas of how to like insert things in, and like if what we do is you play off those things just as I'm playing off your things, then we move forward and we're running and it's fun, right? So I think that, a boat with some kind of switcheroo or disguise or something like that we can do flashbacks for once we're up and running.
And if if the courtesan doesn't want to come with us, we threaten them with violence. I think that's
that's a solid,
pretty basic.
Solid thing. Okay. So let's pick up, shall we, on Bowmore Way. So your boat is tucked into a canal somewhere nearby, right? Are all 4 of you now on the street? Has anyone waited by the boat or is doing anything else?
I'm. Oh, yeah.
Are we still doing the preparation rolls?
No, I'm setting up for the first roll. I'm just asking where everyone is.
I would definitely be on the street.
I
Okay.
think I'm keeping my distance from everyone, but so I'm trying to cut off his escape routes. Is my intention.
Sure. How about 3 sheets and bricks?
I was planning on suggesting some pre.
Yeah, some gather informations.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you're meant to do that. Like, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not sure you're meant to be making rolls before you actually, or maybe you are. It's really difficult to tell because the way it describes it is just like you pick a detail and then you go, and then later on it
Fair
mentions.
enough.
But
Like
what
So
information
specifically-
do you want to pick? Do you want to get?
I thought it would be good to gather information about what this person is involved with that might cause somebody to want to be a part. Someone want to be after them. Like, are they wanted for something? Do they engage in some kind of, are they caught up in some intrigue?
I mean, they have information about the anarchist cause, so that's something there. Yeah, okay, so Morquad in chat says you can gather information prior to going to the engagement. It will help to inform the special detail. Yeah, okay, fair enough. If you don't know the detail, you can gather information in some way to discover it. Okay, so we'll go ahead and if someone wants to make a roll, then go ahead. Tell me what you want to know and how you're going about doing it.
I would like to know about this person's like again the usual kind of thing of what can I find out about this person that I can use to manipulate them or gain advantage in the situation or understand the situation better.
Sure.
And I would like to involve my friend who is a spy in this procedure. So and I would like to maybe consort with them and or other people in, I don't know, as much like last session, like bars or maybe I know some sex workers through
Your
drug
life
connections.
Yeah,
or
through the
something
red
else.
lamp and stuff like that. Yeah, sure. So I think this is a controlled roll. I don't see why it would be risky. And I think, it's got standard effect. I think, reasonable. So go ahead and make your consult roll.
Did Bricks want to help out with any of this stuff? Because someone was saying that they
Yes.
it wouldn't take me involved
I
taking
also
stress.
had that idea. So
Remember, it costs you stress.
I'm fine with that. I've got no stress.
Okay.
Cool.
So take a stress and take an extra die from Brick's help. I've got no devil's bargain for you or anything like that.
So I've got 1 die for consort, which I think happy using that, and it's a die for the friend and a die for Brick, so 3 dice.
There's no extra die for the friend.
Is there not? I thought right, maybe I'm just wrong.
You don't just get extra dice if you have a friend who's appropriate.
I think it was for specifically the thing that you did before that
downtime
involved a friend.
activity. Yeah.
Okay. Or maybe I'm just fair enough.
It can involve basically if you talk about that, they can be involved, and all that will do is potentially change the effect level and position for you.
Okay. Well, I'd like them to be involved
Which I've
somehow
done
as possible.
already.
Okay, cool. That's good to know.
I would have
Thanks.
given you limited before, but
Okay.
not standard. So
Cool. Well, I rolled a 6 and a 4.
6. Well, that's great, right?
Nice.
So you do it with increased effect. So this is going to be a great effect thing. You know what? Let's have a wee little scene with your friend Valeris, the spy, in some kind of dingy, maybe dockside drinking establishment. Valeris is. He's a guy who stands out in a crowd. He consistently wears this large, thick grey coat, great coat, but that is not why. It's because he is a quite remarkably handsome and sexy fellow with sort of swept back hair who knows how to catch the eye of whoever he wishes. And he leans over a table in the drinking establishment to you and says, "So, Pharos, what's he got himself caught up in then?
Oh, it's really unclear, but Decker, that anarchist down on the docks, he seems to want him to have a little conversation.
Right. Well, word has it, and obviously this goes no further than us and your crew, but Pharos, well, thinks a lot of himself, and he's ended up being caught up in some rather tasty little matters. Like you say, free thought, anarchism, that kind of thing. I don't think he genuinely believes any of it, but he has a fancy to make himself seem more interesting and sophisticated with these contentious topics of discussion. Trouble is, he fell into possession of some genuine information.
So maybe he knows too much.
He does. And there's money rolling around the city for anyone willing to take care of it.
Bricks is here too.
Do you know who's interested in taking that?
Everyone.
Great.
Why? Are you?
Mud cash is cash.
Well, good luck to you. He's in 6 towers.
Bear that in mind.
That's all you're going to get.
Fantastic. Still, I'm glad that happened.
Does that change any of the details we were going to do?
I guess we can. I guess what I would communicate to Echo and Silver is that, and I don't know what Bricks wants to add to it, is that Pharos, might be, was trying to, as you said, this kind of information that they maybe were trying to make themselves more interesting to clients and more mysterious, but got caught up in something a bit beyond them, and now might be scared or worried about things. And we can use this information about there being maybe a price on them.
They're out of their depth.
Come with us, or you're going to get.
If you want to live,
someone worse is going to come for you.
And if everyone is out for them, then
might see some.
It means we need to keep them hidden from everyone.
Yeah.
I can't talk because I had several teeth probably knocked out in the fighting pits.
Absolutely.
Also, where my accent has disappeared.
So with that in mind, it sounds like none of that original detail has changed. You're still kind of where you are. So Echo is in a position to cut off any retreat. Silver, 3 Sheets, and Bricks are going to approach the guy on this street and see what they can do. Is that the long and short of where we start? I know there's the switcheroo boat idea hovering.
I'll be on the boat.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I guess it makes sense that someone's on it, right? So. Absolutely.
Me being there as the muscle to back up Silver is,
absolutely. That sounds good. So then, what we do, friends? Well, you need to choose your load. So light, normal, heavy, or encumbered. Which will obviously, the heavier it is, the more attention it brings to you. So if you can pick those individually, that's just about fine. And then we make the engagement roll, which is just a fortune roll, and it's consulting you for advantages and disadvantages. This determines the initial position in the scene. So, the initial position for the score. So what we do with this, the engagement roll. So you get 1 die for sheer luck, and then argue me for advantages and disadvantages. Obviously, I may have some knowledge of those that you don't, and I will adjust the dice pool accordingly. So what do we feel we have any particular advantages?
So I think we have one advantage, which is that we know that, we know that there might be some other players. People after this person.
Yeah, I agree.
We might be wrong about this, but we think there will be an advantage from his communication with Decker, meaning he might want to come with us.
I don't think it's specifically a a role about whether he's going to join you or not. It's
Right,
like
it's
about
just-
how it starts, if you see
Okay.
what I mean. So like think about the general situation, the general setup and stuff like that. I think that's probably it as far as your advantages go. But it's up to you guys if you want to think of any more.
Does Silver look the part? Just like, I don't know if Silver is particularly well dressed or anything like that, but does Silver
Bring
look
the picture
more
of
like
Silver up and we can
yeah?
see.
Does Silver look like the kind of person that Pharos would usually deal with, and so
I think
perhaps
so.
fit the part and feel trustworthy, even if they're surrounded by Brick, clearly an intimidating personality, and Echo, who is frankly weird.
I think that Silver looks like mutton dressed as lamb, which is probably what Pharos also looks like. Having said that, like I'm not entirely sure. You look like you're up to no good, broadly speaking.
Silver has fine clothes and jewelry as a equipment thingy.
Sure.
0 load, if it's of any value.
But who's to say that's what Pharos is looking for right now?
Yep.
Fair enough.
Anything else from anyone, or shall I modify this with disadvantages or advantages?
I guess, like, yeah, just the fact that we are offering safety as opposed to everyone else who is just out to like kill this guy.
I definitely like. I will take that down. I definitely read it more as you are aware that there might be other players, which leaves you in a position of knowledge that, like, as you're approaching the situation, makes you more wary. And I think that.
Oh right, yeah. Sorry, I was just going like from our bargaining position. He might want to come with us because.
Yeah. But again, this
sure.
isn't. You're not actually bargaining with him yet. So, like,
we
you're
are
just
now.
approaching this area. So,
Gotcha. I don't think we have any more advantages.
Cool.
No.
Well, in that case, friends, I am. I'm going to give you a disadvantage, which I won't talk about because it'll be a bit spoilerific. And I'll just roll one die for you then. Yeah. So.
Uh-oh.
I won't lie, it's kind of the result I wanted.
Oh no.
A 6.
And to be fair, if I hadn't have rolled that, I was going to adjust my plans because I suddenly realized when I was creating this, like, ooh, that's a bit railroady. But happily, the dice have made it happen. So let's talk about Bowmore Way, where you have gone to. So I have a lovely little description I've lifted from the book here. Bits of trash blown by a cold wind skitter along empty streets, illuminated only by a few still working street lamps and the campfires of squatters. The shutters and doors of abandoned buildings moan, creak, and bang in a haunted chorus. Residents hustle by, heads down, clutching spirit-bane charms close to their breasts. You are making your way through the street, at least 3 of you are, right? Maybe not together though, Echo. I think you said you were kind of like maybe. Do you think maybe like across the street, kind of keeping an eye out around?
Yeah, and I'm also trying to blend in. It might be relevant that I'm taking light load so that I can actually blend in with other people.
You can blend in a bit more. 3 sheets. I'd say you can actually see this as well. You've managed to secure your vessel where some like shallow steps lead down to the canal side. So you've got a fairly good view of what's going on back here. Like the streets, not that busy, and you can kind of see further down it. Bricks and Silver, as you're making your way forward, are you going to you know what, I was going to make you make some kind of roll to find the guy, but honestly, actually, he stands out quite a lot in this area. It's oddly thematic for him. He looks like a guy, he's meant to be in finery, but it's faded and it's just a little bit out of date. And let's describe him fully. So Pharos is stood there, a slim man, maybe approaching middle age, wearing a very obvious reddish-orange wig curled down his back. Quite an elegant stance, sort of very upright with a walking cane in one hand, wearing very heavy, luxurious velvet gloves that, as I say, are very nice, but just a little bit out of date. He's kind of turning round sort of nervously and kind of looking around. And he, as he does so, he turns around to where Bricks and Silver are approaching. And he looks like he anticipates, like he's like, oh, perhaps these are the people, but also perhaps they're not the people. Perhaps they're the other people. And he looks kind of like, you can see him kind of like desperately trying to decide between running and approaching you. And as he does so, he sort of and raises a cane. The left side of his chest explodes, sends gore scattering across the wind-blown streets, and he just has an expression of shock, frozen shock surprise as he collapses over to his side. 3 sheets.
Yeah.
You have a better vantage on this than the others.
Did I shoot him?
Out of the corner, yeah, gunning down. Out of the corner of your eye, up on a rooftop nearby. It's behind the others. You're the only person to see it. You kind of instantly kind of whip your head around to look for where the shot came from. There is a shadowy figure on a nearby rooftop. Let me describe them. Obviously, we haven't talked about them before, but 3 sheets knows who they are. So it's
This
a figure
guy
in a waxed coat. Like a shiny wax coat and a long scarf, but standing up on that rooftop, mostly in darkness, wearing a tricorn hat. You don't know the name of this fucker, but they've done this kind of shit to you
he
before.
does it every
Like,
fucking time.
Some kind of vendetta. All you know is on the street they're called Steiner, and they turn to you down in the boat, give you a little tip of the tricorn
Fucking
hat,
Steiner.
and they're gone.
I'm reaching for guns, but I'll get him next time.
So
I should never have asked about him in public. Then Steiner got onto me. He
So
knew
for the
I was
purposes-
after him.
So for the purposes of everyone else, Steiner is 3 sheets rival. So yeah, there we go. You're on a street. People are kind of screaming and wailing and running around. There's not that many of them, but there is a very, very dead courtesan, a messy dead courtesan, sprawled on the street in front of you. What we doing?
We did say, as a backup plan,
Yes.
As he collapses, I guess I will sort of go over and does he have any distinctive items on? Like, I'll start trying to nick stuff from the body.
There's the wig. the heavy gloves. I mean, they're quite distinctive. If you're just taking time to like pat them down, then absolutely. There's nothing. Well, you know what? Let's have a fortune roll, shall we? Let's have a fortune roll. I think that's appropriate. And I don't, unless you can think of any advantages or disadvantages to the wealth of this entirely flimsy, loosely created fictional character, I'll just give it a straight up fortune roll and see where we land. How about that?
Yep.
Yeah.
I can make a lot of disadvantages.
So 1d3. Yeah, I think. You know what? I think this guy had a bit of money, enough to spend it badly, but not a huge amount of money, right? So let's see how we do here. Yeah, you find a coin's worth of small jewels and like enameled snuff box on his person and stuff like that. And while you're looking at it, you screw the top off the cane as well. Might be brass, but might be worth something.
Yep. I guess I pocket all of these various items.
And as you're doing that, and I have reached a decision on progress clocks, friends, and that is that I am saying when they go up or down, but I am not saying what they are or how much they go up and down unless it's really super clear to you guys.
Okay.
Did we get the impression that Decker wanted us to bring the corpse back if possible?
He said dead or alive.
Yeah.
I was wondering
Not
if we
just a
could
memento.
take, or if we like cut off one of his fingers.
Yeah.
But it's not like super identifiable, so I think we actually have to hoof it.
Roll him into the boat.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry. By the way, the searching of the body took a couple of minutes or so, just so you know.
Oh, okay, cool.
While she was doing her searching, 3 sheets. Pass me the tarp.
Yep, flinging it towards
Gonna get
Brick.
messy.
Mhm.
I'll start rolling it out next to the body,
Oh,
so
we're in
that
a
when
real
Echo
mess.
is done, we can shove it on and wrap it up.
We're in a real
Okay.
mess. Beer Brick's a real mess.
I think we need a roll here, and I think this roll needs to be for getting this body to the boat in the least sloppy way possible and the fastest way possible, right?
Finesse
So-
roll.
Finesse could do it. Well, that's the thing. You choose what it is, and I gauge how well I think that ability deals with that, right?
It's not the first time Bricks and I have sewed up a body and chucked it over the edge of a boat with a
Sure.
sail.
I think
know.
finesse is absolutely appropriate.
That's how you bury
your-
people at sea.
Your position is desperate because that's what it was when we set up this thing, and I think it is. You're on a street with a dead body, but I think that finesse has a potentially great effect. So I'd say that's your upper. You have no upper limit basically.
John,
I mean,
do you want
you
Bricks
should.
to lead this roll, or do you want to
No.
take it? Or right? Okay.
Bricks has no
So that's-
finesse.
So are we doing this as a
I
group
think it's-
action, or one person and a helper, or?
Three Sheets is happy to do it.
I'd like to. I think it's a
Or
good
if
idea to
you-
do a group
if you
action.
can- If
Yeah.
you can lead it, then I'm more than happy for you to do it. If anyone's got better, I've got one in finesse.
I can't take more stress. Can one of you guys lead this action?
Very
And-
happy to.
Go for it.
Okay, so 3 Sheets is leading this as the group expert on wrapping up messy bodies in tarps. So everyone roll finesse, please, and let us know if your highest result is a 3 or under. And also what your highest results are.
My highest result was a 2.
Because I was rolling 0 dice, my lowest highest is a 5.
Whoa.
Nice.
Your lowest highest. Can you
So
explain?
So because I have no points in it, I rolled 2 dice.
Mhm.
So my only valid result is my lowest of those 2.
Correct.
So
Which
5.
is 5.
Okay,
Yes.
Crazy.
so that's our highest result so far. How did you do, Sam?
I got a 1.
Okay, 3 Sheets.
I rolled a 5.
Okay, so it's a result of a 5 and 3 Sheets gains 2 stress, correct? I think 1 from Echo and 1 from Silver.
Yes.
Yeah. Did Deco roll a 2?
I rolled it. Yeah, I rolled
Decker is
it.
an NPC.
Sorry, did Echo roll a 2?
Echo rolled a 3.
Yeah.
So it's two
yeah,
stress,
sure,
1
sure.
from Silver, 1 from Echo.
Sounds good.
Sorry about that.
I'm not going to try and
Okay.
resist it.
Yeah, you can try and resist.
I'm not going to try because it seems like a
no,
bad,
'cause
bad
it's
bet.
not. It's not a consequence.
Oh, okay.
And that was a desperate action.
It was a desperate action. It was a desperate action on a 5, so you do it, but there's a consequence.
And I get an XP.
True.
Yes, because you've rolled in a desperate circumstance. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to say. I'm going to just reduce the. Shall I reduce the effect or do the complication? I think it adds up to the same either way, really, with this at the moment. So I am going to say that. God, this is actually difficult doing the mental arithmetic on this. Reduced effect. Let's go with reduced effect. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. So, yeah, you wrap up the body in the tarp. Only a slight amount slops out onto the cobblestones. You manage to kind of half lift between 3 sheets and bricks. You carry the body over, dump it onto your boat. Do we want that the caper sort of plan to be that your boat is disguised to look like some kind of people who'd have a reason to be traveling between 6 towers and the docks? Is that the idea, or do we want to do some kind of switcheroo still?
I've got an idea for a deception, but
Go for it.
I want to weigh the body down with bricks and tow it behind the boat in the top. So we're deceiving people by towing the body behind the boat. and no one will notice this. That is the plan. That's my idea for deception. Maybe you don't think that's deception. I don't know. It seems like
I think it's a deception. I think we had agreed on something to do with the boat specifically.
That's true.
Yeah,
Well, I
that's
mean,
what
I
we
imagine
set up.
because that is true. Well, I think we said that there would be like a switcheroo or boat. You're right. It's up to you. That's yeah. If that doesn't fit, then that doesn't fit. That's fine.
Oh, you think you can still do it? Like it's just whether you mentioned it. We don't have to come up with anything. It was just an initial idea, and we'll see if we can do a flashback later to make it feel more appropriate or whatever. But yeah, so you have this body on the boat successfully, and you don't seem to have attracted any particular attention yet from anyone on the street. There's no one like yelling out. There's no sound like sounds of blue coats approaching at speed. But there is one little thing. Overhead, all of you notice a crow starting to circle.
Oh, motherfucker.
Yeah, we've got to beat that crow.
Silver. Well, Sam, why don't you? Because I think we have mentioned it briefly before. But Sam, why don't you give us the potted version of what happens when someone dies in Duskfall?
Yeah, when someone dies, after a certain amount of time, a ghost kind of escapes their body. So to kind of prevent that and avoid having ghosts all over the place, there is like a crematorium with these spirit wardens, I think they're called, who come and get the bodies and then burn them in a way that also destroys the ghosts before all the ghosts can escape. And the crow is kind of the first sign that this is where the body is, and there's a spirit warden coming to get this body to take it and burn it.
They're called Death Seeker crows, and they unerringly find where the bodies are. This doesn't mean that this is what always happens, because clearly there are ghosts in Duskfall. But the crows mean that, you can hear, now that you think about it, the sound of bells tolling in the distance. The crows are here. They smell this body, and the spirit wardens are on the way. So perhaps leaving and trying to escape these crows before they pin down the location would be a good thing.
Is it normally one crow per body?
I don't think there's a hard and fast rule.
Fair enough. So, what do we think? Shooting the crows would be a smart.
I certainly think. Well, here's the thing. So let's invent some Duskfall lore, right?
Please.
So I think by all means you can kill these crows. I think they are mortal things, just enhanced via some arcane awfulness. I don't think there's like one crow per body. I think there's just crows will keep coming until either they determine they've lost the scent or it's found, But I think you it's 3 seats considered opinion that if you shot a crow, it could help slow them down. But
you're shooting
a Death Seeker crow is a real easy way to get on the bad side of the Spirit Wardens. So it depends whether you feel that it's worth that. And hey, maybe they never find out it was you.
I'd be fine doing that. I just think on retrospect, firing multiple shots at crows is going to attract a lot of attention.
There is that as well. Sure,
it's not quiet.
It's firing guns at crows is not quiet. Let me tell you, I have never fired guns. Obviously. So, what? Yeah.
Shit says.
Did you want to? Well, yeah, maybe ask your companions.
Do you think the crow will be able to follow it if we dump the body overboard and drag it behind the boat? Maybe the water will just cancel it out.
Maybe the smell won't go through water as easy as it goes.
I mean, like we can tie this tarp up real tight.
I think the crow will still easily follow this body. It didn't smell it.
What if they board the
comes
ship
in through some spiritual means?
Yep, go on,
Matt.
Brooks.
Are you saying this while you're like undocking and like?
Yeah. We're moving.
We're moving. Sure.
As former sailors, do Three Sheets and I remember seeing crows when people fall overboard and drown?
There are no crows outside Duskfall.
Oh.
It's only within the city.
Trying to think. We might have seen people fall off the docks and die, but it's
people
unlikely.
drown off the docks all the time. And yes, as far as you are aware, there's no hard and fast rule on this. I don't want to impose strict law rules around the crows, or it becomes less fun.
The question is not is there strict law. The question is, would bricks go along with the scheme, the harebrained scheme?
I think, in your considered opinion, as inhabitants of Doskwall, it couldn't hurt.
Yeah.
But whether it'll fully work or not,
so
you don't know.
I think I have something that can go along with this plan.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought is we cut off his hand.
Great.
And then we throw his hand somewhere like down a street.
Charming.
And then we wrap him up, as you were saying, and do him underwater. And that way, hopefully, the crows will catch onto the scent of the fresh meat faster than they catch onto the scent of the.
I'm 100% behind this.
Yep. I say, pulling out a blade.
Pulling out a machete, just like
which I brought along just for such an occasion.
Sure. Okay. I think. Okay, I'm going to set a couple of things. I think this is 2 rolls. I think it is 1 roll to get the hand off the body and lobbed somewhere, to get it off and get it somewhere. And I think obviously that's what you're going to do first, right? Because you can't do it after it's weighted in a tarpaulin and dunked behind the boat.
Yeah,
that's a wreck roll.
Sure. So, I think it depends what you want to use. See, it was Echo said that, but is it Echo doing it?
I was, since I proposed it, I think I'll propose it in a way that I'm kind of like, does anyone want to? And if no one seems super keen, I guess I'll be like, I guess.
I think it's definitely in the spirit of the game as well, that if you're proposing doing something, you should be the one to do it. Otherwise it's just they're the best at that. And then that loses.
I think it would be reasonable that we'd ask Brick to cut someone's hand off.
Sure.
Because Brick's huge.
Sure, the opposite, yeah.
But even if Brick didn't have the best, well, I don't know. I don't even know what Brick's wreck is.
I am would it? I guess
it doesn't have to be wreck. It's your choice of what you roll.
My thought would be rolling finesse with the intent to carefully cut it so that it comes off easier, as opposed to using great force to remove it.
I think that's fine.
Okay, so I'm rolling,
and then the throw as well can be finesse as well, right? So
sure.
Roll your finesse, and I will tell you that this is a. See, I think this is just risky. I think the other one is going to be desperate because it's a very complex thing to do in a quick way. But this is a bit quicker. So I think this is a risky roll, and I'm going to tell you now, and this is for reasons kind of beyond your control. It's going to be limited effect level, but that could still get you 1. That can still get you a 1 tick on any appropriate clock or whatever.
Sure.
So,
do I push
is anyone
myself?
going to help or offer a devil's bargain of some kind?
Oh.
In fact, okay, yeah. Tell you what, I will offer you a devil's bargain.
Okay.
I will offer you a devil's bargain. I have to say what it is, don't I?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I can say no.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you don't have to say exactly what it is. You can be like, something bad will befall you.
Yeah.
Be more specific than that, hopefully.
I think so. Yeah. Okay. If I offer you this, and you can have an extra die for some guaranteed heat.
Okay. Yep, I accept that devil's bargain. Let's have some heat, guys. What's the worst that could go wrong?
Take an extra die.
Okay, so I'm rolling 3 dice.
Finesse. Nice.
Yeah, 2 finesse. I'm a bit of a finessey creature.
Finesse fiend.
4, 4, 3. So my highest is a 4.
That's still a success. So, in that case, and it was only a risky thing, so you do it, but there's a consequence. You suffer harm. A complication occurs. You have reduced effect. You end up in a desperate position. You're already going to end up in a desperate position. So, which one of the? This is one of the things that's quite complex, actually, because it's I can't do reduced effect because it says you do it. See, I guess the thing is, you do it, but just nothing. It doesn't work in any way. But that feels a bit cheaty. So instead, let's go with a complication occurs, shall we? a complication occurs. So before that, let's explain why you get so much heat. So you have absolutely no idea why, because clearly this man's dead as driftwood. But you kind of so what are you doing this with?
So I'm doing this with a blade that I brought along.
Okay, so that's one of your load, correct?
Yeah.
So yeah, you work the blade in. You rather carefully put it, between the bones there, and just start to ease them apart, and then snap through a bone. And snap, and you pull it off. And as you do so, maybe he wasn't quite dead, or maybe whatever. Bodies do some weird stuff, but there is such a gush of arterial spray all over the front. You are drenched, like you're sopping it out of the scarf around your neck. The reedy voice from behind it is going, "I'm drowning," and you are covered in gore. You look like a dock front butcher. There is absolutely zero way that you are getting home without someone seeing this and pinning something on the crew. Raise the crew's heat by 1.
Chucking off board. Chucking overboard with
the complication is that you hear over on the and you do you've ticked on a progress clock for doing that, by the way, as well. A good one.
Right.
And you over on like the shore, I call it the shoreline with the canal, but I guess it's the canal side or whatever. You are kind of desperately paddling as quickly as you can. Well, not you. You're covered in blood and holding a hand, and you kind of you look around for a good place. You see a kind of gap between kind of very tall, those kind of I think they're called brownstones a lot in America, but kind of we tend to have them out of white stone, kind of tall, kind of Regency style buildings, like really nice ones that you get in London or Exeter or even in York. And you see there's like a gap between them. They're all boarded up and derelict. And you kind of lob it over there, and it goes over into what was someone's old garden, and you hear it kind of like scatter into a bunch of underbrush. But as you do, you kind of covered in blood, but at least you did that. But as you do so, you see some slight movement in it, like just peeking over the wall, and you see a couple of street urchins just kind of peeking over, and a voice from one of them goes, "Here, there's a dead body in that boat. What are you doing? What are you doing?" And they're all like, there's about 3 or 4 of them, and they all start shrieking and shouting about the dead body in the boat. Not, I should say, with any fear or horror, with thrilled excitement. So now you are in a boat on the canal, heading away, trying to escape attention. One of you is covered in gore. There are a group of small children screaming that there is a body on the boat as you paddle by. And there are Death Seeker crows circling overhead. And I think we'll end the session there.
Ridiculous.
Going well so far.
It's like laser-like precision.
Going excellently. So there we go, folks. If you have any comments or questions, pop them in the chat, and Steve will ping them up on screen for us to discuss. In the meantime, why not have a little promo? There's links down below, Twitch and YouTube. You're watching on one, why not check out the other? Our YouTube has loads of VODs on it of various series. There's links to social media. Check us out there. To Discord, you can join there and talk to us about all things Telling Tales, all things role-playing. We've got lovely treats on our Patreon, things like character creation videos, access to the Patreon only area of our Discord. If you feel like supporting us, visit us there. We run 3 weekly games, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, each of them at 8 o'clock in the evening BST. Mondays is Call of Cthulhu, Tuesdays is Blades in the Dark, that's this, and Wednesdays is currently Coriolis. We also run monthly one-shots on the first Saturday of every month. There are a bunch of VODs of them over on our YouTube, and the next one coming up on the 3rd of July is going to be run by Johnny, who runs our excellent Monday Night Cthulhu game, and that is going to be Honey Heist, where you play bears. So, it basically Blades in the Dark. But with more fur.
Bears in the dark.
And amusing hats. So that's about it. Any comments or questions out there, friends? Moquar. Apologies if that's my pronunciation of your name. I'm sorry if it's meant to be less sort of whatever that
French.
sounds like. Yes, less French. More quoi. Blame it on the rival during downtime to reduce heat. Yeah. I mean, there is a reduced heat option, right? So
on that subject, I did just notice, looking at our sheet, that we have bought the just passing through upgrade, which means during downtime, take -1 heat.
Oh, just as a matter of
take
course, you don't have to do
-1
the
heat.
action. Oh, that's cool.
Like,
Well, in
yeah.
that case, you can go ahead and reduce your heat by 1 because we just
Cool.
had a downtime.
Nice.
That's cool. Yeah, that's really good, right? Fun times all. Glad I could make a stream. Well, thank you, Mokwa. We're glad you could make it too.
Very kind.
It's worth mentioning, by the way, I think we've had 3 followers today. Andre2099, thank you very much. Keniori, that's how I'm going to pronounce that name. Thank you. And Gabby Ruba, thank you also. It looks like there's no more comments or questions. Thanks very much, folks. Thanks to my wonderful players. Thanks to Steve, our stream manager. And thanks to you all for watching. And we'll see you next week for more Blades in the Dark. Farewell. Goodbye.